Okay, so this is one of those social security topics where the headline can make it sound like July created a brand new rule for everybody, and I would be careful with that. If you were born in the 1940s, the 1950s, or the 1960s, there are real Social Security rules that affect you differently, but most of them are not new. Just because the calendar says July, they are rules that were already there. And July is just a good time to check them before another month goes by. So in this video, I want to walk through the three groups in plain English, not as a panic list, not as a secret rule change, more like a checklist, because someone born in 948 is usually solving a different problem than someone born in 1957, and someone born in 1963 is in a different stage completely. The anchor for all of this is full retirement age. For people born from 1943 through 1954, full retirement age is 66. For people born in 1955, it is 66 and 2 months. For 1956, it is 66 and 4 months. For 1957, 66 and 6 months. For 1958, 66 and 8 months. For 1959, 66 and 10 months. And for 1960 or later, full retirement age is 67. That one table matters, because early filing reductions, delayed retirement credits, the earnings test, and survivor planning all lean on that date. Now, if you were born in the 1940s, you are probably already receiving Social Security, so your July checklist is not really about whether to claim at 62. That decision is behind you. Your checklist is about making sure the benefit you are receiving is based on the right record. The first thing I would check is your address and notices. This sounds boring, but it matters. If you moved after you filed, or you moved after a spouse died, or you moved into assisted living, or you change mailing addresses for any reason, make sure SSA has the current one, because if there is a correction notice, a survivor benefit notice, or a Social Security Fairness Act update, you do not want that going to an old address. The second thing I would check is whether WEEP or GPO ever affected you, or your late spouse. The Social Security Fairness Act eliminated the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. That does not mean everyone gets money. It means people who were actually reduced by those rules may need to make sure their record, payment, or survivor calculation has been reviewed correctly. So if you worked as a teacher, firefighter, police officer, federal employee, state employee, or in another job where Social Security tax was not withheld, I would ask about it directly. Do not just ask, am I getting everything? Ask, was my benefit ever affected by WEP or GPO? And has my record been updated? After the Fairness Act, the third check for the 1940s group is survivor benefits. This one is missed more often than people think. A widow or widower may be receiving their own retirement benefit, while a survivor benefit on a late spouse's record could be higher. It does not always happen, but if you never asked SSA to compare both amounts, you may not know. So the plain question is, please compare my own benefit with any survivor benefit I may qualify for. That is the kind of question that is simple enough to ask, but specific enough to get you out of vague answers. Now, if you were born in the 1950s, your situation is usually more mixed. Some people in this group have collected benefits for years. Some claim near 66, some delayed, some are still working a little, and some were affected by public pension rules. The big mistake in this group is assuming 66 meant the same thing. For everyone, it did not. If you were born in 1955, your full retirement age was 66 and 2 months. If you were born in 1957, it was 66 and 6 months. If you were born in 1959, it was 66 and 10 months. So someone who filed right at 66 may have filed a few months early without realizing it, and a few months early can create a small but permanent reduction. It may not sound dramatic, but permanent is the word. That matters. So if you are in the 1950s group, I would pull your award letter or your My Social Security record and look at the actual claiming month. Do not just remember the age. Look at the month. Then compare it with your full retirement age. For your birth year, the second thing for the 1950s group is voluntary suspension. This does not fit everyone. But if you are already past full retirement age and not yet 70, you may be able to suspend retirement benefits and earn delayed retirement credits until age 70 for people born 1943 or later. Those delayed credits are 8% per year. But there is a cost. You give up the monthly checks during the suspension period, and if another person is receiving benefits on your record, those benefits may also be affected. So this is not something to do casually. It is something to run as a household calculation. Health, cash flow, spouse benefits, survivor planning, taxes, all of it matters. The third thing for the 1950s group is the earnings test. If you are still working and you are not yet at full retirement age, for 2026, the lower retirement earnings test amount is $24,480. If you are under full retirement age, for the whole year, SSA withholds $1 in benefits for every $2 earned above that amount. In the year you reach full retirement age, the higher amount is $65,160 for the months before you reach FRA, and the withholding is $1 for every $3 above that amount. And this part is important, and the withheld benefits are not simply lost. SSA says once you reach full retirement age, your monthly benefit is increased to account for months when benefits were withheld. So the earnings test is not the same as a tax, and it is not the same as a permanent early claiming reduction. Those are different issues, and mixing them together is how people make bad decisions. Now, if you were born in the 1960s, the whole conversation changes. Most people in this group are either approaching Social Security, just became eligible, or are still deciding when to claim. And for this group, full retirement age is 67. That matters because age 62 is still the earliest claiming age. But claiming at 62 when your FRA is 67 means a larger permanent reduction. SSA's own table shows that for someone born in 1960 or later, a $1,000 benefit at full retirement age would be reduced to about $700. If taken at age 62, that is about a 30% reduction. And on the other side, delaying after full retirement age can increase the benefit until 70. For people born 1943 or later, the delayed retirement credit is 8% per year. So for the 1960s group, the question is not, can I claim? Yes, you may be able to claim at 62. The better question is, what does that decision do to the next 20 or 30 years? If you are still working, the question becomes even more important because claiming early while earning meaningful income can combine two issues. You lock in an early claiming reduction, and then the earnings test may withhold some benefits until you reach full retirement age. So again, the withheld earnings test money is not gone forever, but the early claiming reduction is a separate permanent reduction. That is why I would be very slow about claiming at 62. If I were still working full-time, there may be reasons to do it: health, cash flow, family needs, job loss, but it should be a real decision, not just a reaction to the first month. You become eligible for married couples. There is one more layer. The higher earners claiming age can affect the survivor benefit later. When one spouse dies, the surviving spouse may receive the higher of the two benefits, depending on the situation. So if the higher earner claims early and locks in a smaller amount that can follow the surviving spouse for the rest of their life, that is why I do not love one-person claiming advice. For married couples, it is a household decision. Now, if someone in the 1960s group already filed recently and now regrets it, there is one narrow option to know about: Form SSA 521, Request for Withdrawal of Application. If approved, you repay the benefits you received, and SSA treats the application as withdrawn, but the window is limited. Generally, you have 12 months from when you became entitled to benefits, and you can only do this once in your lifetime. So if that applies, do not wait around casually. Ask SSA directly whether withdrawal is available in your exact case. Now let's bring this back to July. The July part is not that all these rules suddenly appeared today. The July part is that the 2026 calendar is active, payment dates are happening, Fairness Act updates are still on people's minds, and some people are making claiming decisions right now. So your July checklist is simple. If you were born in the 1940s, check your address, survivor benefit comparison, earnings record, and any WP or GPO update. If you were born in the 1950s, check your exact full retirement age, your original claiming month, any public pension recalculation, and whether suspension or earnings test rules matter for you. If you were born in the 1960s, do not file until you have compared âge 62, full retirement age, and age 70 side by side. And if you are still working, run the earnings test calculation before you claim early. Also check the payment calendar. For most people, Social Security is paid on the second, third, or fourth Wednesday, depending on birthday. If you receive Social Security before May 1997, or if you receive both Social Security and SSI, Social Security is generally paid on the third and SSI on the first. If the expected date passes, SSA says to allow 3 additional mailing days before contacting them. So if I had to put the whole thing in plain English, I would say this: there is no single July rule that treats everyone born in the 1940s, 1990s, and 1960s the same. There are birth year rules. There are payment date rules. There are earnings test rules. There are delayed credit rules. There are survivor rules, and there are public pension corrections that may or may not apply. The danger is not that SSA hid one rule from everybody. The danger is that people hear one general Social Security statement and assume it applies to their age, their work history, their spouse, their tax situation, and their filing date. That is where money gets missed. So do the boring thing. Find your birth year, find your full retirement age, find your payment date, find your claiming month, find out whether WEP or GPO ever touched your record. And if you are married, look at survivor benefits before you make a claiming decision in isolation. None of that is flashy, but with Social Security, the boring details are often where the monthly check is decided